Shalom. Come on in, family. The system is collapsing right before our very eyes. Don't you see what is happening around all of us every day? Many people are working harder than ever before, yet they have less. Food, rent, insurance, and the cost of everything has increased except for our peace of mind. For the first time in modern day history, millions of people are struggling to survive while working full-time jobs. There are 1 million people living in RVs and cars because they cannot afford to rent an apartment or buy a home. For the first time in American history since the Great Depression, you have the largest amount of young adults from the ages of 18 to 29 years old living at home still with their parents, nearly 45% of them. Something is seriously happening right before our very eyes. And when you look in the scriptures, historically, every empire that has ever existed since the beginning of humanity eventually collapses. And real money was always gold and silver. All fiat paper currency historically always fails. And in today's lesson, we're going to go to the scriptures to examine what we see happening right before our very eyes. And throughout this evening's lesson, I have several video clips that's going to verify everything that I am saying, and we're going to back this up with scriptures. In the book of Matthew, or Salakia, Mark chapter 13, verse 23, Yahushua says, "But take ye or you heed, behold, I have foretold you all things." So everything that has happened, is happening, and will happen is written of in the scriptures. Book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. "The thing that hath been is that which shall be done, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun." Book of Bereshit or Genesis chapter 47, verse 15. "And when the money failed in the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt, and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we unalive in thy presence? For thy money faileth. And Joseph said, Give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle, if money fails. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flock, and for the cattle of the herd, for their donkeys, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle that year. And when the year or that year was ended, they came unto him a second year, and said unto him, We will not hide it from my master, how that our money is spent. My master also have our herds of cattle, and there is not aught left in the sight of my master but our bodies and our land. Pay attention to this first clip, family. Fair use.
To be afraid of paper money. I mean, they have their basic premise that paper money around the world is going to get worth less and less and less over time is absolutely correct. They're right.
So if we're seeing the end of fiat currency as we know it, where do you think money moves to?
Good question. This here is a 1964 half dollar.
Listen.
1964 was the year that this was real silver. But in 1964, the U.S. was the power. But every empire ends when they debase the currency. This was 64. I was 17 years old. I remember looking, oh, it's nice, you know. And then one day, I also looked up, and some of the coins look like this. This is pure gold.
Yeah, 1 ounce.
Okay. But I look it up and go, oh my God, why does this coin have copper on it? And that was the end of the empire.
You see, biblically, historically, true wealth was always gold and silver and not paper fiat currency. Let's go to the scriptures to prove this really quickly. Book of Bereshit or Genesis chapter 13, verse 1. And Abram went out of Mitzrayim, he and his Isha, his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. True riches was always gold and silver. Historically, every fiat currency, which is paper currency, that was ever invented by any nation eventually fails because of hyperinflation. People have to work harder and harder, yet they are able to afford less. This is what is happening right before our very eyes. Pay attention to this next clip. Fair use.
Told you the world's first paper money was printed 700 years ago. The Mongol-led Yuan dynasty issued money made of bark and ink, backed by decree, not silver. And at first it worked. But then, they printed too much. Wars, debt, inflation, trust vanished. And by the end, the empire fell, and the paper was worthless. This wasn't just China's problem. It was the world's first fiat failure. And it's a warning we've ignored ever since. If money is just paper, what happens when the trust is gone? Already told us. We just forgot to listen.
The thing that has been is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. True wealth and riches was always gold and silver. Even in ancient biblical times, whenever someone worked for another person, they predominantly paid them in gold and silver. That's true wages, not fiat currency. Fiat currency eventually always fails. That's why modern people are having to work harder and harder, and yet they are able to afford less because the dollar is crumbling and collapsing right before our very eyes.
Money, and why are we on that system? Governments wanted to be able to tax you without going through legislation and making it visible to you. Inflation was baked into the currency. You had corporations that actually wanted to pay the workers less. But hey, if you're making $20 an hour, you're not going to settle for 10. Through inflation, if you can make that $20 spend like 10, the government gets that inflation tax without you realizing it, and corporations get to pay you that much less without you realizing it. That's what central bankers call price stability if you don't ask for more money. That's why central bankers want relatively low inflation rates, because then you just accept that money. But hey, in 1971, the average wage was $9,500, and one wage earner could support a family of four. Today, the average wage is something like $57,000, and you need two wage earners and you're paycheck to paycheck. Fiat money was invented for governments and corporations at the expense of the population.
So it's all an illusion. The dollar and fiat currency is collapsing. Not only here, but in the world, every form of fiat paper money will eventually collapse and fail, because true wealth was always in gold and silver and never paper currency. That's why the modern people are working harder and harder, yet we are able to afford less, because through hyperinflation, the fiat currency or paper money is quickly crumbling right before our very eyes. I have a powerful passage of scripture that we're going to read. Book of Hazun of Revelations chapter 6 and verse 1. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, listen, family, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should unalive one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast saying, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black or melanated horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the fourth beast saying, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see that thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Verse 6 is exactly where we are today. Let's further prove this. Let's read this same passage of scripture, family, from the contemporary English version. Pay attention. Revelations, or Hazum, chapter 6, verse 6. Let's read it from the contemporary English version. I heard what sounded like a voice from somewhere among the 4 living creatures. It said, A liter of wheat will cost you a whole day's wage. 3 liters of barley will cost you a day's wage too. But don't ruin the olive oil or wine. This is exactly what we see, what is going on right before our very eyes. People are having to work harder and harder, yet they are able to afford less. Let's prove this more. Let's pull this up and see what Google has to say about Revelation 6:6, because it's happening right before our very eyes. The economy and the dollar is collapsing. Revelation 6:6, according to Google, describes opening the third seal, the melanated horse representing, and I say that because some platforms, nevertheless, let me continue, representing severe economic collapse and famine. The announcement of what, family? Hyperinflation, where an entire day's wage only buys enough for basic grain for one person. Contrast with the command to leave the oil and wine untouched, signaling Yahuwah's restraint and controlled judgment. So this is exactly why you see the modern people working harder and able to afford less, because at the collapse of every empire, their paper currency always fails. It's not a matter of if or maybe. It's gonna happen, and it is happening right before our very eyes. This is what's going on. This is the calm before the storm. Don't let them lull you to sleep with meaningless things and so-called entertainment while this economy is eroding, and it will not return. Let me share this next clip with you.
Ages defined the lifespan of an empire. The age of pioneers, the age of conquests, the age of commerce, the age of affluence, the age of intellect, ending with bread and circuses in the age of decadence. There are common features to every age of decadence. The conspicuous display of wealth, A massive disparity between rich and poor.
It's happening.
A desire to live off a bloated state. But perhaps the most notorious trait of all is the debasement of the currency.
Hyperinflation, Revelation 6:6.
The United States and Great Britain both began on a gold or silver standard, long since abandoned. Rome was no different.
So it started on a principle that was very sound, and it was on a silver standard. But as it corrupted further and further and further, the Roman denarius got to the point where it was basically a copper coin, and they learned how to plate, and it was washed in silver, and in circulation the plating came off. And at the end, all the senators that really did at one time represent the people only were interested in representing how much wealth they could steal at the top.
Woo! We're
Great
going to cover
empire
that.
wealth always dazzles, but beneath the surface, the unbridled desire for money, power, and material possessions means that duty and public service are replaced by leaders and citizens who scramble for the spoils.
Historically, all the signs of the demise of empire are beginning to develop. Some are more trenchant than others. This current financial and economic crisis, that sort of thing always accompanies the demise of empire.
The people of Rome were constantly being distracted by the gladiatorial events, and the politicians knew that they did this. Whenever there was unrest among the people, they had a huge
Isn't that what's
event
happening
going
in
on.
our times
They
now?
created a new event with lots and lots of gladiators, and every day we're doing that. That is a common trait of declining empires.
Straight facts.
And so today in the United States, for example, you find a tremendous emphasis on all kinds of television programs that distract people from what's really going on. Sports is a big part of that, as it was in gladiator times. In essence, we've been lulled into a lethargy, and we've accepted it.
Just as our sports stars today earn vast sums, so did Roman charioteers. In the 2nd century, one by the name of Gaius Apuleius Diocles amassed a fortune of 35 million sesterces in prize money,
Sounds like
equivalent
Lewis
to
or
several
Jordan, don't
billion
it?
dollars today. Strangely,
Listen.
perhaps, there's another profession that is disproportionately hallowed as an empire declines. The Romans, the Ottomans, and the Spanish all made celebrities of their chefs.
And you see it all
And
on
this
social
again
media
is
and everywhere.
typifying the end of an empire.
Yes.
Where things were so great, we have this last oomph of momentum that we used to be great, and we felt great, and we don't feel it anymore. So everyone is out searching for it. Well, maybe it's in the best food, or the best clothes, or the best music, or the best movies, or a reality TV show, or another magazine. But you can never get enough of what you don't need. It is a strong moral conviction that is pervasive throughout the society, and integrity reigns.
Facts.
There's a vast apathy. There's a vast amoralism, even a political nature to it. That is to say, there are vast numbers of people who don't give a damn. And so there's this natural, I suppose, entropy. Any living organism, which an empire is, of course,
Listen.
over time dies. Question is,
Everyone.
how does it die? Does it die in a violent cascade of events, or does it die over a long period of time?
The baby boomer generation were born into this age of decadence. Perhaps unwittingly,
Listen.
they've broken the unspoken intergenerational contract. Through unfettered consumerism, spiraling house prices, and a desire for eternal youth, the baby boomers have squandered future generations' inheritance.
My generation, the generation right after my generation, I think we forgot that little phrase in the preamble to our Constitution, which says, and our posterity. All of a sudden it became us, period.
The baby boom generation, which I'm a part of, has gone and done the biggest misallocation of capital in the history of mankind. We have had cheap oil, or cheap energy is a better way to phrase it. We've had an abundance of ideas, and we have chosen a system and perpetuated it that is probably one of the worst ways to use the blessings that were bestowed upon us. And we are going to pay a price
Facts.
for that.
through hyperinflation, Revelation 6:6. The economy and this system is collapsing right before our very eyes. The average age of an empire, according to Sir John Glubb, The Fate of Empires, through his historical research, he researched the average empire lasts no longer than 250 years. Guess what this nation celebrates this coming July? Their 250-year celebration. Every empire that has ever been an empire historically always collapses. In the book of Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 12, or Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 12, woe to him or them that buildeth a town, a nation with blood, and establish a city or nation by iniquity. When they came to this land, who was here? The Native Americans. Then they took the land from the Native Americans, went to the kingdom of Judah in the coast of Africa, enslaved the Israelites, took them to the four corners of the earth, the islands of the seas in the 1400s, and then lastly, they landed in Jamestown, Virginia in the year 1619. So they took a land from a people that they never paid or compensated them for. Then they went and enslaved the biblical children of Israel and worked them for free to build this nation for over 250 years. Then they still have them fighting for what you call equality in modern day times. Habakkuk 2:12 says, woe to a nation like that. The average age of an empire is 250 years. This nation celebrates that this year. Wake up. How was this nation established? Book of Telahim, or Psalms 49 verse 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling place to all generations. They, who are the they? The Gentiles, call their lands after their own names. America was formerly known as Turtle Island, you see, and they named it after Amerigo Vespucci. They even changed the name and the continent of Africa and named it after a Gentile, Leo Scipio Africanus. Woe to the nation or town that has been built on bloodshed and iniquity. Iniquity is sin, is evil, is wrong. So when you build and establish a nation in a manner such as that, how do you even put in your minds that it will last forever? Revelation 6:6 happening right before our eyes. Pay attention to this next clip.
Inflation edition. So I was going to get some kettle corn for work, and I noticed it says mini bags, 3 1.75 ounce bags. You got 3 2.75 ounce bags. It's roughly a 75% decrease. These used to be 8.5 ounces, but now you get 10% more for free at a whopping 3.75 ounces. Like 125% less that you're getting now. This used to be a 7.5 ounce bag. Now it's 3.5 ounces. What the heck is up with this? $1.79 for 1.5 ounces? A big grab used to be 2 ounces
more
for
and more while receiving
59
less.
The only thing big about this grab is the cash grab. Oh, jeez. 3 pouches per box. This almost fits in the palm of my hand. Like, this is a joke. They probably spent more money in the packaging than the actual contents. They make cinnamon twists now? No way. Let's see if these taste like Taco Bell.
Sure.
They don't expire until November, but I feel like they expired November of 3 years ago.
Hyperinflation, Revelation 6:6. We're paying more for items, yet we're receiving less. The packaging is getting smaller, the items are getting smaller, but the prices are continually increasing. Revelation 6:6 is happening right before our very eyes. Book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 6 and 7. And Yahuwah Elohim spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a land that is in a strange land that is not theirs, and they should bring them into bondage and entreat them evil 400 years. Jamestown, Virginia, 1619 to the year 2019 was the fulfillment of that 400-year prophecy. Book of Acts chapter 7, verse 7, and the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, say Yahuwah Elohim. And after that they shall come forth and serve me in this place. So judgment is getting ready to come and is happening right now. If you all knew that what was taking place on that other side of the pond with the nations they are now in conflict with, such as Iran, that's biblical prophecy. And I have another new lesson that's coming soon that's getting ready to cover that. Revelation 6:6 is happening now. It cannot and it will not be fixed or rectified. Prepare yourselves, family, please. What we see happening now is one of the greatest wealth transfers in all the history of humanity. The distance between the have and the have-nots has grown tremendously. Family, did you know that there are 3,428 billionaires worldwide? 3,428. The wealth is being transferred from the average working citizens to the top 1% of what they call themselves elite. They can never have enough. They have more currency or money than you could spend in several lifetimes, yet they're still not satisfied, while the common people through Revelation 6:6, hyperinflation, is suffering. Pay attention to this next clip. Here we go, fair use.
Trip, and it's not van life. For 900,000 Americans in 2026,
over a million
this is the
now.
only thing left between them and the sidewalk. While you were sleeping, a new class of homeless emerged. The lot starts filling up around 9:30 p.m. First, the old RVs roll in. Then the minivans with blankets covering the windows. Then the workers, security guards, Uber drivers, Amazon warehouse employees, retired couples, families with kids already asleep in the back seats. This is happening all across America in 2026 because rent broke the math. A one-bedroom apartment that cost $1,200 a few years ago is now pushing $2,000 in many cities. Wages didn't rise with it. Food prices exploded.
Facts.
Insurance exploded.
Facts.
Fuel exploded. And suddenly millions of people discovered something terrifying. You can work full-time and still not afford a place to live.
And then let me not even start on the land grab that these billionaires are not only buying up in America, but the world. They are buying millions of acres of land, not only in America, but the world. This so-called top 1%, driving up the prices of homes, rent, and everywhere because they are hoarding the land. So while they buy up these lands, they drive up the price of everything else, making the average working people suffer. And never forget, family, true wealth was always gold and silver, not paper fiat currency. Don't forget that. One or two more passages of scripture, family. I don't want to hold you long today. Let us go to the book of Acts. Book of Acts chapter 2, verse 40. And with many other words did he testify and exhort, saying, Save yourselves from this untoward generation. Then they that gladly received his word were immersed, and the same day there were added unto them about 3,000 souls. And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread, and in ploughs. And fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done by the apostles. And all that believed were together and had all things common, and sold their possessions and goods, and parted them to all men as every man had need. You're going to soon realize just how much we need one another. And they continued daily with one accord in the temple, and breaking of bread from house to house, did eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart. Let us go to the book of 2 Corinthians, family, as we get ready to wrap up this evening's lesson. Chapter 6, verse 14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with darkness, or righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion have light with darkness? And what concord hath Messiah with Belial? And what part have he that believe with an infidel? And what agreement have the temple of Elohim with idols? For ye or you are the temple of the living Elohim, hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out, come out, come out from among them, my people. Come out from among sinful, non-covenant, commandment-keeping people, and come out from those population centers before this economy totally collapses. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verse 18. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good. You cannot bring a non-commandment keeping person with you in a community. One sinner will destroy much good. So you cannot bring and dwell among unbelievers. Yahuwah Elohim is commanding us in these last days, as this economy is quickly crumbling and eroding right before our very eyes. Come out from among them, my people. That means sinful people and these population centers. Come out from among them. Pay attention to this next clip. Before I play that one, I have one clip that I forgot about that I should have put back with the gold and silver. But let me play this really quick. Then we'll play the next clip. Hold on.
Selfishly, I did a video one time on the Beers Diamond. What can you say about them? There's a lot of stuff you hear about, how they're the ones that made it. Diamonds are not really as big as they're supposed to do. They control 80 to 85% of the diamond distribution, and it was considered that they had a monopoly. What do you guys in South Africa think about them?
De Beers, a genius monopoly and a complete farce. And what is a diamond? It's a shiny stone. It's worthless.
And you think it's a fraud what they did to diamonds?
Well, it's genius. It's not a fraud. It's complete genius to make
they hang on to it, so it makes it seem like it's worth more.
A shiny stone. But are we insane as humans? We prize a shiny stone. It's insane. You could also make diamonds in labs now.
Facts.
So De Beers is sitting on a mountain of unsold diamonds. It's the best short in the world. Why would you ever buy diamonds? Because they can be made in factories.
That the danger involved is why they're so expensive. But actually, it's just because we decided they are. There are vaults full of these things, but we only sell a few a year to keep the price up, like a ticket scalper. Except that a scalp ticket can be exchanged for the experience of going to a live show, and these are inherently worthless rocks. Like this one of my favorites. You might think that the...
You've made me the happiest man in the world. Emily, will you marry me?
How sweet. You like it, so you're putting a ring on it. But have you ever wondered why we put diamond rings on things we like at all?
Oh God, you're gonna tell us the awful truth about engagement rings, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Hi, I'm Adam Conover.
Hey, Adam.
And you may think of the diamond engagement ring as a timeless symbol of love, but it turns out this ancient tradition was invented less than a century ago by the De Beers Diamond Corporation. Before the 19th...
Throwing my money away, I mean, at least the ring is worth something.
Yeah.
Actually, diamonds are intrinsically worthless.
I refuse to believe that.
Well, maybe you believe De Beers chairman Nicky Oppenheimer, who once said, quote, "Diamonds are intrinsically worthless." In fact, they're quite common. The only reason diamonds are even expensive is that De Beers has a global monopoly on...
True wealth is in gold and silver, and I'm not talking about that 18 karat or 14 karat gold. I'm talking pure gold, 24 karat gold, and pure silver. That's true wealth. Fiat currency is not real, and historically it always collapses. Let me share this last clip as we close. Come out of her, my people. You have to go back to community living, rural area living, agriculture, farming. Learn to live a more simplistic
that the
life.
housing market has never been able to sell you. Not because it is too expensive. Because it cannot be photographed from the street. It does not announce itself. It does not present a grand facade to the road. It does not signal its value through the size of its entry or the height of its columns or the length of its driveway.
Go back
It
to
signals
community
nothing.
living,
To
righteous
the world
living.
outside, it is four walls. Dark metal. No windows facing outward. No invitation. No performance. And inside those four walls, a courtyard. A garden. A covered walkway that connects every room to open sky. A pool positioned at the geometric center of a home that the world outside will never see. This is not a new idea. It is one of the oldest ideas in the history of human shelter. The inward-facing home, the building that turns its back on the world and opens entirely toward itself. And in 2026, built from steel, tree available O-shaped barn dominion.
Come out from among them, my people. Go back to a more simplistic form of living. As this economy is quickly collapsing, you're going to realize just how much we really need one another. But as we stated earlier, one sinner will do or destroy much good. As we close this lesson, this is not about panic, family, but preparation. The scripture teaches wisdom, community, and peace. The Most High Yahuwah Elohim never intended for us to live our lives in endless stress, debt, confusion, and constant pressure. That's not of the Creator. The world system and empires rise and fall historically, but family, the truth and the word of Yahuwah Elohim will always remain. Perhaps one of the greatest lessons we can learn is that happiness is not found in endless consumption, but in faith, family, and community living, and peace of mind. So take care of one another, love one another, and most importantly, family, keep your faith always rooted and grounded in Yahuwah Elohim. Much love and respect. Like, share, and subscribe. Much ahab, much love, family. Until next time, thank you for spending time with me, and shalom.